Hello, students. Let's start chapter 7 of History, the Great Uprising of 1857. Through this video, you will come to know about causes of this revolt. Let's start from page number 65. For over a century, as the British had been conquering the country, popular discontent and hatred against foreign rule had been gaining strength among the different sections of Indian society. You know that British people came to India as traders. They established factories here. Not only factories, they actually built forts, and these forts were fully equipped with arms and guns. They started taking control over the land, and their rule created discontent among common people, native of Indians. Discontent means when someone is not happy with the situation, someone is not satisfied with the situation. So there were many revolts by the tribals of Madhya Pradesh, Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. These tribes were Bhils, Kols, and Santhal. They had lost their traditional rights to lands and forests. So, as British people were controlling the land, native people lost their control over their own resources. So, they started hating foreign people. This discontentment resulted in a number of uprisings between 1767 and 1857. And among all these uprisings, most important was a revolt of 1857. Historians also refer to this revolt as Sepoy Mutiny or First War of Indian Independence. Sepoy is a word for soldiers, and mutiny means an open rebellion against the authorities. So, Great Uprising was the first war for Indian independence. The Great Uprising of 1857 broke out in northern and central India in 1857. It began with a mutiny of sepoys but soon engulfed wide regions and involved the masses. It was the first major attempt to overthrow the British rule from India. It is as we read that um, it is 1857 revolt is the most important among all the rebellions during happened during a period of 1767 to 1857. Why it was important? Because it was the first major step to overthrow the British rule from India, and it involved masses. It broke out in northern and central India. Wait, let me show you here. Here, okay. So you can see around this northern area and the central area of Indian country of India. Here, the revolt broke out. All this area, right? Let's see the political causes first. Lord Dalhousie's policy of expansion was aggressive and caused great discontent among Indian subjects and rulers. His policy of doctrine of lapse and annexation of states on grounds of maladministration angered the people of India, especially of Awadh, which was annexed on the grounds of maladministration, despite being a loyal ally. English people took various steps to annex the different states of India. Lord Dalhousie's policy was very aggressive, means he was very fast in controlling the Indian land. His doctrine of lapse and annexation of states. Actually, he annexed Awadh on the ground of maladministration. Maladministration means when governance is bad of certain area of certain state. If governance is not good, look, what British people said. They said the governance of this state is not good. That's why we are taking control over it. So actually, they were making this is very lame excuse, but yes, still they were taking it by force. Initially, Awadh was loyal to British people. First, let me show you the area of Awadh. Here, this shaded area is the state of Awadh. So British took control of state of Awadh on the grounds of maladministration. By his policy of doctrine of lapse, he annexed Nagpur, Jhansi, Satara, Jaipur, Sambhalpur, etc. He made Nana Sahib an enemy by denying him a pension. He also hurt the sentiments of Mughal ruler Bahadur Shah Zafar by not allowing the successor to stay on in the Red Fort. The successors of Bahadur Shah Zafar were not allowed to use royal titles. So different kings of various states became enemy of British people, like Nana Sahib, Maratha warrior. They denied pen. First, they acquired his territory, then they denied pension to him, and he became enemy of British rule. Bahadur Shah Zafar, his successors were not even allowed to live in Red Fort. That at that time, Red Fort personally belonged to Mughal people. So Bahadur Shah Zafar's successor were not allowed to even enter in the Red Fort, and they were not allowed to use the royal titles. The British showed scant regard for the treaties they signed with the Indians. Treaties were twisted and broken to serve their interests. So, as you already, already I told you that they made very lame excuses. Lame excuses means they arranged treaties, uh, they came in agreements, and then they broke those rules or twisted the treaties for sake of control over India. Next are the economic causes. British had changed the entire economic structure of India. Changes were introduced to suit their needs. The traditional self sufficient economy of villages was wiped out. This caused resentment among people of all sections. When there was a starting of British rule in India, at that time, Indian economy was self sufficient. Actually, it was it was a village economy that was a very good state. Economy was going very smooth, but British changed the whole system. uh, Actually, they took the steps to fulfill their own interests. The introduction of the new land revenue system, which allowed the government to confiscate land and accept revenue in cash, brought about misery and suffering for the Indian peasants. The peasants were exploited by money lenders and zamindars. They hardly had any surplus food grains left with them. This led to many famines. British introduced new land revenue systems, and according to these systems, government, and at that time government means government of British, government of English people. So uh, they framed land revenue system under which they can confiscate the land. Confiscate means when someone take control. Confiscate specifically mean when authorities uh, take control over the private property. So if someone was unable to pay taxes, his land was got acquired by government. For whole system created a lot of misery and suffering for Indian peasants. Peasants mean agricultural laborer uh, who are having very small land holdings or no land at all. They work, either they work on their own very small uh, agricultural land, or they work in others field. So these peasants were exploited by moneylenders, zamindars, and British government, and they were not having surplus food. And all these situations led to famines. Famines means when there is acute shortage of food grains for common people. That situation is known as famines. With the coming in of the Industrial Revolution, markets were flooded with machine made goods. Indian industries could not compete with them and declined. The artisans, weavers, and craftsmen lost their means of livelihood. This is the same time when there was industrial revolution in England. The market was flooded with the machine made goods, and the Indian goods that were those goods were sorry the goods that were handmade couldn't compete with the machine made goods. So this all these things created the hardships for artisans, weavers, and craftsmen. When an Indian state was annexed, the administration was replaced by the company. This created unemployment among the court officials, which was a cause of resentment among the employees. Even landlords often had their jagirs confiscated. So we are learning that not one section of society was exploited by British rule. Even every first peasants, then we came to know about artisans, weavers, and now look, when certain state was annexed, its administration was replaced by company, and officials from company started working of day to day administration. So people who were initially appointed as administrators got unemployed. So these people too were against the British rule. There was constant drain of wealth from India to Britain. India's wealth was used to expand British trade and maintain their huge administrative staff in India. Okay, so machine made goods were sold in Indian market. British people use that profit not for the betterment of Indian society, but they used it for their own interest. During the tenure of Bentinck and Dalhousie, thousands of jagirs of jamidars and talukdars were confiscated, resulting in discontentment among the people who had been loyal to the British. Look, when British came to India initial stages, there were some states who favored British people. So later, British people deceived them also, who were initially loyal to them. So they confiscated the jagirs of zamidars, talukdars. So these people were of these people, rich people, who became uh, enemy of British rule. Let's see, next, social and religious causes. The advent of British rule brought Western culture with it. The Indians were alarmed by its spread and were suspicious of any change. The British advocated many reforms such as abolition of sati, female infanticide, child marriage, widow remarriage. This caused discontent all over. These reforms were interpreted by Indians as an interference in their religious and social customs. At the same time, work of Christian missionaries created fear and suspicion. So when British people started taking control of political affairs of India, side by side they were interfering in social and religious traditions of Indian society. Although they abolished some bad practices here like sati, infanticide, child marriage, but people were not, they were discontent with British rule. They were not accepting the foreign rule. They took it as the interference in their traditions, with their culture. The introduction of railway and telegraph was viewed with fear and suspicion. They feared the British inventions. The introduction of Western education was also viewed as an attack on Indian social and religious customs. Added to all this was a policy of racial discrimination. The Indians were treated with contempt by the British and were subject to humiliation in all walks of life. Apart from the interference in tradition and culture, British people were very disrespectful towards Indians. They humiliated people in all walks of life, means um, in every field of society, polity. So, uh, all these things created dissatisfaction among common people. Next are the military causes. The sepoys in the company's army were dissatisfied. They were treated with great contempt by the British officers. In fact, they were discriminated against their British counterparts. They were paid much less salary and were denied promotion. Their boarding and lodging was also of much inferior standard. The company passed the General Service Enlistment Act in 1856, which made it compulsory for all new recruits to serve overseas if need arose. The Hindus felt that it was an attack on their religion and caste. An Indian soldier called Sepoy could not rise above the post of Subedar. They were unhappy because they would not get any extra allowance or bhatta for serving in distant lands. So, in these 3 points, we come to know that soldier soldiers were also dissatisfied with British officers. Why they were dissatisfied? Because British officers discriminated against their British counterparts. Means if two on the same post, two soldiers are there, one is Indian, one is British, then British at that time was taking more favors, more allowances, more salary, more respect than the Indian counterpart. Their promotions were better, their salary was better, their boarding conditions were better. And there was an act, Enlistment Act, which was passed in 1856, and it made compulsory for all new recruits to serve overseas, means in somewhere outside India. Indian soldier couldn't rise above the post of Subedar and they were denied of allowances. Then are immediate causes. The oppressive economic policies, aggressive annexation policies, religious and social interference by the British government were like dry firewood awaiting to be lighted. This spark came in the form of the incident of greased cartridges. The British had introduced a new rifle and field for the sepoys. The cartridge had to be bitten off before use. It was rumored that these cartridges were greased with the fat of cows and pigs. This enraged the Hindus and Muslims, as the cow was holy animal of Hindus and pig was considered taboo for the Muslims. They felt that the British were doing this to defile their religions. All the causes which we have learned so far in this video, that means political, economic, social, religious, and military causes, these are actually gradual steps towards a big revolt. And this big revolt was initiated, that means spark, initiated by incident, by an incident, and incident was related to the cartridge. It was rumored that the cartridge are covered with the fat of cows and pigs, and that cow is holy for Hindus, and Muslims don't eat pork. Pork means pig meat, so it is taboo for them. Taboo means a subject that is considered offensive, because there, Islam does not allow the pork, so eat does not allow to eat pork to the Muslims. So Muslims are having taboo that they couldn't they couldn't bite off the something that was coated with the pig fat. All these things created an incident. They felt that British are trying to making their religion impure. They are trying to show them inferior. So all this incident was related to the cartridge of new rifle named Enfield. Here is wait, look. Here is a picture. It can it will show you how this first. This is a cartridge gun. It has to be bitten off with the mouth, and then loading, only then it can be used. So this was the incident that initiated the great uprising of 1857. In the part 2 video, you will come to know about the spread of revolt. Thank you.